Welcome to Island Treasures, a place for caregivers to hear encouragement from other caregivers who, by sharing their experiences, offer helpful information and resources for your caregiving journey. This podcast is brought to you by Alongside Caregiver Consulting, and I am your host and caregiver consultant, Alison Van Schie from beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Today, my guest is all about breaking down barriers and turning challenges into opportunities. When a childhood accident left her legally blind, she didn't stop forging ahead and embracing what life had in store, including caregiving for her husband for the past several years. She now provides round-the-clock care for him and still finds time to learn, mentor, support, and empower others. She shares her caregiving story with such gratitude and grace. So without further ado, join me now as I welcome Victoria Essner. Welcome, Victoria Essner, who is known to her friends as Vickie. I'm so happy to have you on the Island Treasures podcast today.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, Allison.
So let's get started by you sharing your caregiving story, Vickie.
I am passionate about assisting caregivers because time is precious, and providing more time for them to share with their loved one is what my mission is. It's one of my missions. My journey began when I became legally blind at a young age. Ever since that, I dedicated my life to empower others to overcome challenges by example. I lead by example. The can-do philosophy. And I truly believe if we have the right attitude, tool, and training, there's nothing we can't accomplish on earth, with or without a disability. I am legally blind, so I have 3 fingers in front of my eyes. For those who cannot, you're listening to the podcast. It's probably 1.5 inches from my eyes, and I know there's 3 fingers. But if it was your hand, I would be guessing. I see the world, but not in detail. It's almost as if you put a pair of safety goggles on, a clear safety goggles, and rub a little bit of Vaseline on it so it's a little foggy. That's how I see. Some days it might be a little less foggy. I do see colors, and I believe that my visual impairment and my tragic childhood accident at 9 was the biggest blessing that could ever happen to me. And I say, yes, truly a blessing that it led me on the path where I am now over 50 years later.
That is remarkable to view an accident that impaired your vision as a blessing, and one that has obviously shaped how you embrace life and you embrace serving other people in your life.
I'm also hearing impaired and wear hearing aids most of the time, as individuals who wear hearing aids can relate to that sometimes, which has blessed me to also work with the Helen Keller project, the I Can Connect project in the United States. And in Nevada, I'm the trainer for individuals with hearing or deafness and sight challenged or totally blind individuals. And for well over 7 years or longer, and it's been truly such a blessing to be blessed with the talent to do that.
I love your perspective and just your attitude to see what some would see as a struggle or a challenge as a real blessing, and to hear that you're hearing impaired as well as visually impaired, and yet you see that as being a positive in your life. And you don't have it easy right now. You are fully caregiving as well as serving folks with what you do to empower other people. So, can you talk a little bit about the actual caregiving that you're doing for your husband right now?
Yes, thank you. I've been involved in providing care throughout our entire marriage. My husband has suffered unseen disabilities and then very seen challenges and medical conditions due to his service in the United States military. 24/7 care was needed since July of 2013. He was on life support in the hospital, and from being released from that situation, and he went in the hospital several times after, but he never recovered. And now he's currently in our home on hospice.
So, in 2013, he was placed on life support, and you've been full on caregiving for him ever since?
Yes, he was in the hospital between the life support and the somewhat rehabilitation, but was sent to rehabilitation hospital too soon because they did not know the effects of him receiving medications that did not agree with his body
Mm.
and his brain. He had the traumatic brain hypoxia with the brain, and there was a time that it was like a roller coaster. We have our ups, we have our downs, and you try to laugh between. And as they say, hold your hands up and be grateful for the tender mercies.
Mm.
There was times that he was totally in the bed and didn't even know my name. I wasn't sure of the future, of what conditions he has. And I'll fast forward to August of 2015 when the VA took over his care. We had hope, diagnosis. We've had the dementia, the diagnosis, the Parkinson's, a nerve condition from his brain stem that affected his spine, that he had a back surgery so he could walk some in 2016. And it lasted for about almost 2 years. And all of a sudden he got out of bed one morning and he couldn't walk again. He just fell flat on his face. And he got up again and fell. They tried a few things, but he was wheelchair bound, and the Parkinson's did progress worse. It was left side oriented, where his ear was on his shoulder. And through some therapy that I did with him and continuous stretching and exercise, and now that he's in the hospital bed and not the lift chair, which he loved to sleep in a lift chair instead of the hospital bed because it's called a hospital bed.
Mm.
I nicknamed it every word you can think of, but it's still a hospital bed to him. So he did not want in it. And sadly, we could not put him in our master bed, even though it had the controls to bring the feet up and the head up. It was a little too high off the ground, no matter what we did. And then getting him safely out of the bed was a challenge. And then fast forward to today, as of April 25th, he lost the ability to even stand on his own legs and hold himself up. So we have a phenomenal support team, and I am blessed to have so many dear friends from church in our area where we live that a quick phone call, two brethren would show up to help
Mm.
with absolutely anything. And I am not going to cry, but I feel that, and this is according to Vickie, I do know my Heavenly Father knows me by name. He
Mm.
knows every hair on my head, and that this might be a trial to some individuals. They might be angry, and we are not. We practice gratitude every single day, in the morning, throughout the day, in the evening. I will ask my husband, especially when the tears roll from the pain or the sadness that he cannot walk, those different emotions that our loved one goes through, that if we recognize the signs, then the words from our heart is easier to say. And when I say time is precious, that's what I mean. And I'll be saying to him, the more pain he has or the sadness, I'll say, okay, honey, tell me something you brings you joy. Name one thing. Come on. And he knows I'm not going to stop until I get that one thing. Tell me what you're grateful for. Come on.
Through the pain.
Name something. And it works. Because now he's teaching individuals, like a caregiver is sitting by his side right now, so I can be in my office here with you all. And he's sharing scriptures, or he's sharing gratitude with him. So I know it's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So through his pain, through his tears, and you are smiling. You have a beautiful smile. And I'm going to find a way to share your smile with the listeners, Vickie, because they need to see it. They need to see the joy that you're sharing with us today. I'm just thinking about the VA, so the Veterans Affairs, the supports that you have. That's remarkable as well to hear you say that they are a great team.
From August 2015 to this day, absolutely every service, whether it's in person, whether it's through video or a phone call, we have had the most amazing service and compassion and kindness from the Veterans Administration in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
They serve and give selflessly. They words will never express my gratitude to the service that we have received.
Yeah. So that's another blessing.
Yes.
Yeah. But what you're going through, though, has to be really difficult. And you've got your team, you've got someone sitting with your husband right now, and you have a mission and you have a passion to do the work that you're doing for other people, even while you are a caregiver for your husband. And that, too, is remarkable. Now, you did share something with me that I'd like to ask you about. And I would like to know a little bit about your life before this all happened. And I do believe you were called the Pampered Princess. Would you care to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. My girlfriends at work say, you're such a pampered princess. My husband loved taking me to work, picking me up, and he loved cooking. He loved cleaning. He loved the paperwork of all things. And I loved letting him do it because he loved doing it and I did not. So it was a pleasure never cleaning a toilet, you know? um, he didn't just cook either. We lived in our past life, we lived 7 years in Hawaii. So when I say the word spam, he can even make spam taste good. He filet mignon, sauteed mushrooms, artichoke hearts. I never knew what I was eating for supper, but I knew it would definitely be delicious. He, and then I think he misses his cooking as much as I miss it. I did own an Italian restaurant, but that's a story for another time. It's awesome when someone else cooks for you, and they also are a fabulous chef. I do cook. However, when you're a caregiver, it's very, very key to have planning, be prepared, and think meal batching and batch cooking has been my best friend to get through this last, especially 11 years while he's been bedbound, bedbound off and on throughout that time. His appetite will decrease and then certain foods can only be given. And you have to be very creative. So I definitely miss his cooking, but I feel it's now time for this pampered princess to pamper the prince.
Oh, oh, oh. So you used to own an Italian restaurant?
A long, long time in another lifetime in another state. So we'll save that for another time.
We will, but you can manage your way around a kitchen. So it's
Absolutely.
now you're saying that your batch cooking, that takes time, and you did mention preparation, but that takes time to figure out what you're going to cook. And you said that he eats different now. He eats less, and you need to pack in the nutrition. But that takes effort and adaptability.
I look forward to sharing my tools, my technique, my knowledge regarding even chopping as an individual with legal blindness and sometimes almost total blindness, that these are tips and tricks that I will share with not just the caregivers. Menus, I have quick menus and healthy menus and suggestions, but for the individuals that I serve also are blind and vision impaired and disabled. I will have tons of training programs available for those listeners and anyone who needs something customized and personalized to meet their individual needs and time restraints. I also have that available.
And those tips sound invaluable. I know that I'm not the best cutter of vegetables. I'm slow, but I kind of value my fingers. But with a visual impairment, that must be scary to be chopping vegetables, hard vegetables.
If you do not have a technique, then yes, it can be scary. If you have the right tool, the right knives, and the right cutting board. So as a tip, I'll just jump right on a tip for this is the cutting boards that have the suction cups on the bottom stick to your counter or your surface. And if you don't have the cutting board with the suction cups, then they do sell a nice sized sticky mat that goes underneath cutting boards that or any appliance to hold it in place. And then when you do chop, if you always remember to curl your fingers under and you're using from your second knuckle to your third knuckle, if you have your finger, you're using that flat side as you're chopping. And you can never cut your fingers off if you have a fist. If you make your hand into a fist and you fold your fingers in, if your fingers are not exposed, it's difficult to cut them. And then if you're really worried about that, they do have cutting gloves
Mm.
that individuals can buy. And there's websites available for all of the tools needed, especially for the blind and vision impaired. And I know that several of my sighted friends have used those sites plenty of time to buy their kitchen items or their household need items from these low vision aid companies. And I'll have that all available on my website. I'm creating that.
I hope so, because that's something I'd be interested in. Because, like, I'm not the best cook. I cook because I needed to feed people, and not because I enjoyed it. And I do like to eat, so it's necessary to cook. And but I do value my fingers, and I'm not careless when I'm in the kitchen, but I'm slow.
Well, it's okay to be slow then, because
Oh, thank you.
you know,
Yeah, thank you for validating my slowness.
that is fine. Safety overall. Yeah.
I envision you having a YouTube channel where you share all of your tips and resources, and perhaps on your website, you're going to be sharing like videos of that. I don't know, but you have a newly launched website that I'm actually looking at right now, and it's beautiful, Vickie.
Thank
But I'm kind of picturing just tips at the end for helping based on what you said, helping in the kitchen.
Yeah, that'll be under the free resources section at the top. We'll make sure that those videos, because I will be increasing the videos and okay, so a weakness of mine is not being a fan of video on myself. However, I would say I mastered this step one and made a few videos that if you imagine when you hold your phone out and you're going to do a self view and do a quick go live or video yourself, I'm looking at the phone and I start laughing because I can't even see myself. So then I'm distracted on what I want to say. So I'm working on that technique of I I've already taught a few people how to do it, and it's so easy to teach somebody. But to do it yourself, sometimes we have to just put on our big girl pants and do it.
Okay, big girl pants, huh? I think you're called to wear those big girl pants a lot with what you do. Vickie, I just hear your resolve and your care for other people in what you're doing. You learn what works for you and you want to share it. And you just want to bring joy and you do empower others. So with your history of being sight impaired, you have been learning what works for you. You've been trying things out. And, usually in these podcasts, we talk about caregiving tips, but I think your caregiving tips have an added dimension. And so if you could talk more about how you are empowering others through who may be caregivers as well, who have some sight issues. So could you share more about how you
Okay.
empower?
Yes, with or without a sight issue, I will say that self-care was my weakness. When it says, what did I struggle with? Was self-care. And I have some tips regarding self-care because over the last 11 years, immersing myself in training, receiving the National Veterans Certification Program certificate in order to provide the 24/7 care to my husband, uh, I went even sleeping 2 hours a night. Some people would say, how do you do that? Well, I was still that hummingbird that can be graceful and efficient and effective on little sleep. It was through, I feel, having solid self-care techniques of what works for you. So my morning routine looked a little like 2 hours before I knew when my husband would wake, I would start my morning routine by doing my prayers in the bed while I'm doing my stretching. I also was injured 2 years ago and I'm working on some back and
Mm.
hip injury. So doing the proper self-care to heal for any injury, you want to make sure it's consistent. After my stretching, then I get onto my knees and say my prayers and be grateful for not just the day, but all my blessings. Then I go into my office and do the meditation and then journaling before I start whatever the study, whichever I immerse myself in the different training programs because I did not share with the listeners that I worked for the state of Nevada's vocational rehabilitation program for a total. It was 18 years and I bought out 2 years to retire in January of 23 with 20 years in serving the blind and vision impaired and individuals with disabilities. And doing it in person, even with the pandemic, yes, online education is great because we've mastered Zoom, haven't we all?
We have.
It's online education and getting the word out regarding the programs that I'll be offering you have to really know the technique and how to do it. So whatever the day training that I needed to concentrate on from that week is what I would do. and those several great educational programs, but having the system and knowing at any minute, my focus is my wonderful husband.
Mhm.
His name's Robert, but we call him Bob.
Mm.
And it's very important to know what's near and dear to your own heart and stay true to that, because time is truly precious. But the tip is, do your routine, make a routine, be consistent with the routine for yourself so you have the energy when you're serving your loved one or your patient. If you are a professional caregiver, it's as important because they become your loved one. And the different little things I like is not to have any guilt. If you like chocolate and Ghirardelli or whatever your favorite chocolate is, or Jelly Bellies if it's the Easter season, whatever the sugar might be, don't let others guilt you that unless you have your own health challenge. Know what your body wants that gives you pleasure. I have a little bowl of chocolates at the bottom of the step, and if everything's going haywire here in my house and I have to go downstairs anyway to get something that's needed for my husband, I will stop, and that 1 minute of opening that piece of chocolate, putting it in my mouth, enjoying it with my eyes closed and just breathing deep, that 1 minute is sometimes like 30 minutes having a massage. So find your guilty pleasure. Find what relieves your mind, because keeping your spirit, mind, body, and soul aligned is so important.
So you pack a lot into that preparatory time in the morning. So in addition to the chocolate, I get the chocolate. I totally get the chocolate. But so you do things that fill your soul or feed your soul. You do the prayer, the stretching, the meditation, and then you do prep work basically in coursework that you were doing to make you a better equipped caregiver for other caregivers. And that was building on what you learned through your career. And then you're talking about the self-care that I can relate to with the chocolate. And that's a lot that you do. And does that 2 hours ever tire you? Like you said, it empowers you and it energizes you, but do you ever feel tired that you have to get up that much earlier?
No,
Hmm.
not ever. Like, it is such a routine and fixed. But I want the listeners to know that if you have a bad morning, do not feel guilty about it. If your body needs to sleep until it's baked, till it's done, if we put some rolls in the oven, we don't take them out when they're doughy. If we need to sleep a little extra and we're going to miss a little bit, it's okay. If that's the self-care you'll do that morning for yourself, then it's okay as well.
That's
It's very
wise.
important.
Yeah, that's wise.
There's so much more. That was just a little teaser
That was a teaser.
on my self-care.
Yeah, but your self-care works for you, and that's important to share. And we started by talking about how you empower others, and it sounds like you empower others by first empowering yourself and getting everything in order. And like you said, you used the word aligned. And I think that's really good to know.
And it's also very important to find joy in the journey. Yes, this journey, you didn't raise your hand and say, oh, I want to be a caregiver for my loved one. We didn't just stand in line for that, but we stepped up to it.
Yeah.
And that's so key.
And I'm curious, Vickie, what is your favorite chocolate? What are the wrapped chocolates that are at the bottom of the stairs?
So my favorite is any of the not healthy. Dark chocolate is not my favorite.
Not mine either.
Chocolate. So any milk chocolate. So the Ghirardelli squares, that's either milk chocolate, and it has some caramel, or it's salted caramel and milk chocolate. There's really, I'll even eat the dark chocolate ones when I have to, because there's no wrong chocolate, just I love that the quality C's candy, or we have Ethel M candy here, the candy factory in Las Vegas, Nevada, in Henderson, Nevada. Good quality chocolate.
Do you have a Ghirardelli's store right in Las Vegas then?
Costco.
Costco, okay. I'm a milk chocolate as well. I am definitely not dark chocolate.
It's just too healthy.
It's too bitter. I like stuff that's sweet.
My friends know, if you really want to make me happy, please don't bring lemon bars.
You and I.
Brownies, chocolate cake. Yep.
Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
funny.
visit my website, or visit my Facebook page. That's even better. Victoria Essner Facebook page, and scroll down to that wonderful 9-pound chocolate cake that my son sent me this April for my birthday.
Wow.
9-pound chocolate cake from a really awesome bakery here in town. And he
Wow.
does it consistently, and I tell him, you gotta stop.
You gotta stop, but please don't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. So self-care just became really yummy. Thank you for sharing that with us. So Vickie, as a well-experienced caregiver, what is your best takeaway?
Precious time with my wonderful husband, Bob. Enjoying the journey, being grateful for every moment, and totally feeling blessed for the tender mercies, even through the hurt, watching him suffer, the learning how to now deal with catheters, or any new medications and side effects. Having that true knowledge that let's find joy in this journey. Let's make this memorable. It brought us closer together than ever. We have been married going on 30 years on September 21st, my husband's birthday, and together engaged for a year before that. So he's been my best friend from day one. Nicknamed me Hummingbird on date one, and that would be my biggest takeaway. If you could only find joy in the journey and make the little moments count.
Joy in the journey and make the little moments count. That's beautiful, Vickie. What a takeaway.
Thank you.
And 30 years coming up, hey? Congratulations in advance.
Yes. Everyone's surprised that he's still here with me. He has been on hospice for 1 year, and he looks at our friends right in their eyes as they're hovered over his hospital bed, and he says, I don't want to leave my Vickie. And they say, when Jesus takes your hand, you can take it, because we'll hold hers and we'll all be there. So, it's truly a journey, and we are blessed to be according to Vickie, we are blessed to be on God's time. And Jesus is our Savior. So that's how I feel.
And you're prepared. Like you've talked about this. You already know. He's talking to other people about it, and they're counseling him. So that's good to know. As you are prepared in every step of the way now, and you are finding joy, but you're prepared for that final moment here on earth. But you want to equip other people. So you're creating training courses for other people. So Could you talk a little bit about that, Vickie?
Um, yes, I focus my expertise on all aspects of caregiving. Being a caregiver 24/7, you don't have the luxury of picking and choosing. And myself being limited with limited sight, and my husband with so many, he has multiple conditions. I learned how to expedite but effectively perform each task. My desire, my mission, my passion is to teach my methods to each individual on an individual basis on what they're struggling with, because I've been there and done it. And you're not alone. It's important to know you're not alone. I have a Caregiving Made Easier, the ABCs, is a self-paced course that has modules and lessons to guide you through the aspects that are involved in caregiving, whether it be advocating, medicine management, bath time, feeding time, whatever it may be, I have it covered. And then, in addition, built within the course, a one-page and some or several page PDF handouts to give you the tools you need. And I lay it out for you in the bath based on the assessment. I'll have a complete assessment. If all of a sudden your elderly parent is living with you and you're not even sure, can they bath themselves? Are they doing it or just standing there and forget what they're doing? How much care is needed to it within that task, and how to determine that, and then what tools are needed in order to be prepared. For example, my husband, when I could waddle a few steps with him and get him into the shower on safely on a shower chair and give him his shower, what tools are needed to get that process done? I was able to get him from his sleeping area to the shower and back in 9 minutes. And he's completely cleaned, dressed. And some of the other conditions he suffers from is, in addition to the limited mobility and now no mobility, uh, he's now able to move his hands, and we have a trapeze over the bed where he's doing some arm exercises, and I'm doing his physical therapy for him and assisting with that. But he has fibromyalgia. So it's like red ants are not just on the outside of your skin, but they're inside as well. And we had to learn how to manage that condition on top of the Parkinson's, dementia, anxiety, the PTSD, sleep apnea. He is on oxygen 24/7 and not at 2 liters. He's at 6 liters, the highest you can go in a nasal cannula 24/7. So learning the tools and the best technique to care for him and care for him with my whole heart, my energy, my soul, and let him live a more comfort and comfortable life through this process is my biggest desire. And I've walked the walk, and I'm here to hopefully serve your listeners, to help them through the trials that they are going through, whether it's one aspect or multiple. I have the Guardian Grace, which is 6 weeks. I'll guide you through Caregiving Made Easier, the ABCs. You receive the course and then 6 weeks of my training, wherein we'll do a training session and a questions and answers, along with a private Facebook group, which I believe connecting people with people. Somebody might be up at 2 in the morning, our time. You'll have connecting individuals all over the world to help you at that moment that you're struggling with a question or just to have camaraderie, a support team, one that's there for you at all times, on your time frame is so important. And then if either of the courses do not work for you, I will do a strategy call, and we will determine what, according to your needs and your time restraint, a personalized, customized program that meets your needs.
Wonderful. And your private Facebook group, again, you're making sure that caregivers know they're not alone. There's someone there. There's
And it
someone
is
there.
private. The key word is private, because some individuals are not a fan of Facebook, but your confidentiality and respect will be given on a high level.
Mm-hmm. And you've been there, like you say, you want to help caregivers expedite. You're fast tracking, you're helping them save time because time is precious, and you want them to learn effective ways to support their loved one. The voice of experience, Vickie, that's who you are.
Thank you. I feel when we are given precious gifts and talents, if we don't use them, we lose them. And I don't want to lose them. I'm here to serve until I do pass, when it's my time to go.
And that's noble. And you have your work, you were training people in your work as well. Like, you've got a good grounding and foundation of being a trainer for folks.
And I also have my education is health and physical education degree, along with an elementary education degree and assistive technology certifications, with the caregiving certification as well, with many trainings. When you're a state employee, training is held to the utmost level. And I enjoy learning, and more importantly, I enjoy sharing what I learn, because that helps others reach their fullest potential. And that's what it's about, helping individuals to seek and maintain, whether it be employment or a better quality of life.
Vickie, would you like to share a little bit about how you were able to go to university? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So, way back when dinosaurs walked on the earth, no, just kidding. Early on, assistive technology was only for the very, very, very rich and famous. So I was not that. So the assistive technology was a 2-piece CCTV, closed caption television unit, that lets you magnify the image that you put down. So you have this big, if you remember the big RCA type TVs that are a nice big square, and this one might have been 20 by 20 or 17 by 17. It was a nice big heavy square unit that the second camera arm piece connected to, and you have to find a way to lug this from class to class. So that, in the snow, Red Wagon did not work well. So I left my room and studied after I got out of class, or used the technology to magnify. And now we have amazing, I'm holding up an iPhone Pro Max, that we can engage the assistive technology built into a handheld phone to help us either read the menu at a restaurant, or magnify something, or the thermostat is on the wall. Most individuals, you go into a hotel or your own home and it's cold or hot, and you're guessing because you can't see the thermostat. Not only could you snap a picture, but then the built-in screen reading voiceover will describe the picture and say, it's a thermostat with a display of 81 degrees. And you're able then to adjust. But there's so many tools available now that were not. But back then, to answer your question, I would have to use a human a human reader where they would read the textbooks, or they would come and read this test. If you're in testing, they would read the questions to the test and you write your answers, or you dictate their answers and they write it so the professor can read the writing.
Mm.
There was no no iPads, no laptops or portable devices of any sort. And I did graduate cum laude. Uh, so, which was very impressive for, I'm one of 9 children, and we lived in the country in Pennsylvania. My father was a truck driver, and going to college was only a pipe dream. But because of the blessing of losing my sight, I was able to attend the Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. At the time when I started, it was Edinburgh State College.
Mm.
I did start for my teaching degree.
Wow.
The rest of that I'll save for another time.
Yeah.
Now, education and why I love being an assistive technologist for the blind and vision impaired
Yep.
is the tools available are mind-boggling, and I have access to all of the new cutting-edge devices, software and hardware being released on a sometimes daily, weekly, monthly basis. And if I'm not able to do something, if I do not know how to do it, I do have the resources and can connect you with the right person or company that can assist. And that's one of my superpowers.
I'm just blown away. Your superpowers definitely, but I'm thinking what a problem solver you had to be at university, like to have someone else read for you or to help you when you're sitting exams. And now full circle, you've got an iPhone or a phone that has all of the tools that you need right there and can be that person, can be that human person in digital form. And you are a teacher. You're teaching me, you're teaching the listeners. And I just want to say that when Vickie joins me on Zoom, she does have the voice assistant telling her what she needs to know. And the first time I heard it was like, oh, somebody else is in this meeting with us. But no, it was her voice technology. And it's opening up an understanding for me that is your reality. And I am very excited to learn more.
Thank you. And if I may share a little bit of some fun tips. And
Yeah, you're bursting. I saw you were bursting. There is something you want to share. So please definitely share some fun tips.
so my husband wasn't always in a position of bedbound and limited. And when he was pampering the princess, he also would let me, I would say, oh, I'm so grateful you let me see through your eyes, because he had his medical, he was an EMTI, meaning one step below the paramedics, yet the knowledge to uh, take care of any medical situation. And I bring that up because there might have been a few, because I am adventurous. What you guys don't know about me is I love adventure. I've skydived, and right before he went down, I was planning on getting my skydiving license, and I will someday get my skydiving license.
Another
Not to be a
superpower.
jump master, not to tandem you on my back and jump from that plane, which I would if you're a friend and we sign a couple waivers, um, because I'll be trained. I'll have the right tool and technique, and I won't do it until after I mastered how many jumps I have to do in order to be qualified. But we owned 500cc Polaris ATVs, and my husband would put a walkie-talkie on my lapel, and he would give me instructions, and he would let me do things that typically individuals would be afraid to try. I learned the technique and mastering that big, heavy vehicle. So what do? Within the first day of training on a big dry lake bed, I took off and I went, he clocked me at 58 miles an hour in order to catch up with me. And he got up with me. We got off the unit and he took the key and put it in his pocket. And he said, young lady, don't make me treat you like we treat our kids sometimes when they're being naughty teenagers. You cannot do that. What if somebody's coming at you? The key that I'm teaching you is you're listening on the lapel for safety. And that was a learning experience for me is, it's okay that we can teach, but it's more importantly that we also listen to learn. And it's a reason in that case was safety, because he did see a group of about 7 coming our way a couple miles down the way. So we've gone ATVing up and over mountains. We went from one area that took about 5 hours to get from the what they call Level Canyon to Pahrump, or Cold Creek to Pahrump and back, and in a day's period, sun up to sundown, because at sundown, my vision goes to total darkness, where if it's dark out, I'm lucky to even see his taillights. And he knows that because I might have rear-ended him once or twice, but I'm not admitting anything.
You just did.
But it's those climbing in, when we lived in Hawaii, the stairway to heaven, that's a whole nother story. You'll have to stay tuned to hear. So if you want to hear that one, you'll have to sign up on my classes, and we'll share that if you remind me. Stairway to heaven story, because it was a doozy. But I'm still here, so I live.
You talk about having the right tools and the techniques and truly living an assisted life. You are able to do what you want to do, or you have been able to do what you wanted to do through assistive technology, through the lapel microphone, through a husband who was watching out for you and letting you have the keys, but kind of limiting you once you realized, oh no, this she's got a mission. But you live life
But
to
he
the
could
full.
limit me. We have some good videos of me jumping over stuff that shouldn't have been jumped over. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned indeed. Now, Vickie, you're giving us a lot of teasers that you're saying, stay tuned. Is there a podcast in your future?
There actually is.
Awesome.
The podcast will be Victoria's Vision, the hummingbird's heart. And it will assist, and I'll have many guests from the world of caregiving. Maybe you listening will be one of my guests, and the blind and vision impaired, individuals that are in the corporate world that are successfully working as an individual with a disability, and the companies that will hire individuals with disabilities.
Yeah.
And it's coming very soon.
Victoria's Vision, the hummingbird's heart.
Yes.
Sounds like a great podcast. And I'm glad you're going to include the businesses that will hire folks, because they need to provide the supports that are required, and they also need to learn.
Yes. And it is okay to ask questions. There's no wrong question or dumb question that you can ever ask me regarding blindness or disability that will ever offend me. I am the best sounding board. If you're listening and you're in a company and you do have individuals that might have disabilities and you're wondering, okay, well, how do we accommodate this individual who's totally blind? Well, just know that there's federal and state monies available for that individual to receive the initial assistive technology in order for them to maintain that job. And then teaching the IT department on what's the best ways to seek assistance. It's easier to make a website or a platform accessible from the beginning, as opposed to trying to tweak it to make it work with the screen reader later on. And there's plenty of tools and resources available, and I'm one of them. So please, Victoria Essner, I'm here for you. I got your back.
Well, I don't want to call you a tool, but I do want to call you a resource.
Oh,
And I'm
thank you.
so grateful that you have come into my life and you have visited me on the Island Treasures podcast, Vickie, because I think what you're offering to folks is invaluable.
Allison, you've been just an angel, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to not just share with others of the services, but to talk with you and meet you and to be part of your life. I hope we have a long-lasting friendship.
Well, we definitely both have the same taste in chocolate, so that's a great place to bond. Before you go, though, let's tell folks how they can reach you.
Thank you. You can reach me on my website, victoriaessner.com. VICTOR as in Robert, IAESS as in Sam, NER as in Robert, .com, COM. And my Facebook is the same, Victoria Essner. And my Instagram, guess what? It's the same, at Victoria Essner. So my email is victoria@victoriaessner.com. There's a pattern going on here, guys.
So, Vickie, I do wish you all the best, and especially with your husband on hospice. I know that these times are difficult, but you are a joy and you are full of gratitude. So thank you for sharing yourself with us today.
Thank you so very much, Allison. It's been an honor.
Being legally blind adds another dimension to caregiving, and Vickie sees her blindness as a blessing. Despite her vision impairment, she remains driven and adventurous, receiving national certification through the Veterans Association to provide the care her husband needs 24/7. As one of 9 children, Vickie was able to go to university and now uses her education in a professional capacity and beyond, working to enhance the quality of life for others living with disabilities. Her passion for teaching and learning is evident as she strives to empower other caregivers, sharing tips, tools, and techniques. She provides courses to assist in caregiving journeys. As a teacher, let's not forget her lessons on self-care, especially the tasty ones, savoring a piece of chocolate with our eyes closed. If you're in the midst of your own caregiving journey and need some supports, I invite you to tap into alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca or Alongside Caregiver Consulting's Facebook page or Instagram account. To learn more from Vickie, check out her website, victoriaessner.com. If you'd like to share your story as a guest on the Island Treasures podcast, please contact me by email, either through my website or at Alongside Caregiver Consulting at shaw.ca. And thank you for tuning in today. And to Vickie, thank you for sharing your positive outlook on life and your caregiving story. If you don't want to miss future episodes, be sure to subscribe to the Island Treasures podcasts. See you next episode.